So I'm going to introduce Sergio. He's a good friend of mine, and he's my IT guy. Anything IT, he knows. But I want to go ahead and introduce him so that you guys can listen and be attentive, okay? Sergio.
Hello, good evening everyone. My name is Sergio and I am an alcoholic. First want to thank the kitchen for that great meal, Bridget for getting all that together. So thank you all. Another round of applause for the kitchen. I would also like to thank Intergroup for inviting me to share my story with you all. I am a newcomer, and ever since I've been coming to meetings, I really haven't heard a newcomer have an opportunity to share their story. So I'm really grateful that I was selected to share my personal adventures with you all. I'm a proud member. My home group is the Early Birds Online, and I see a lot of familiar faces, and we have people literally from all over the world. We have Richard C. from Germany. Right now he's in, I believe he's in Iraq. It's a great group, and I really enjoyed the Early Birds Online. I actually, as Jeanette mentioned, I work in IT and I do stuff like that. And we have a website, earlybirdstx.org, that you can go to and find information about when we meet. We meet daily at 6:45 a.m. earlybirdstx.org. I also see a lot of friends of the fellowship here, so it's great to see familiar faces. And again, I'm really grateful for this opportunity. When I first thought of AA, my first thoughts or introductions into AA was in the movies. Those little groups and people coming up to a podium just like this and saying, "Hey, I'm an alcoholic," but I really couldn't understand or fathom what would happen in these meetings beside the movies. I actually thought, you guys, this was a cult, and you guys were brainwashing people, maybe that isn't for me. But in a way, I think you guys do brainwash us. My mind is different today. My brain has been washed, and so has my soul by working the steps and working with others. So I'm very grateful for that. One of my first in-person meetings, I actually got sober right at the tail end of COVID, and Google searching an AA meeting, and I found the Early Birds Online. So I never got to meet anybody for the first couple months. My first in-person meeting was a couple months later, and I'll get into the full story. But I remember the speaker talking about a failed suicide attempt, and the room was just going hysterical and laughing. And I was like, why are they laughing at this guy? I couldn't understand that. But you know what? After all these meetings, I understand that it's the insanity that keeps us all in the same realm. A little bit about my background. I have some special people here in attendance, so they'll keep me honest. My wife and my mom is here, and so I'll talk a little bit about my upbringing. My father had a problem with alcohol. I can't say that he was an alcoholic because even though he was told to go to AA meetings because of his multiple DWIs, he never went. And I would actually sign his logbook so he could take it to his parole. But he was a hard worker, and my dad died of this disease in 2019. Growing up, a lot of memories of having an alcoholic father in the home. Also, my family drank a lot, but it was really seen as kind of culture and tradition. Growing up, nobody handed me a beer or a shot. But as I grew up, what I saw was that For celebrating, the family drank. For funerals, the family drank. When there were financial problems, the family drank. There was a lot of, so the alcohol was always there. And you know, the family really took a lot of pride in how much we could drink. And that's been kind of the culture and tradition. As I got sober, looking back, I tried to remember of my first drunk. And I want to say that my first drunk, I was in a wedding for my cousin Peter. And I don't know how old I was at that wedding, maybe 5, 6, 7 years old. But what I remember is when they did the champagne toast, the other kids, we were waiting around, and when those corks popped off, we'd run after them under the tables. And we'd sip on the little corkscrews to try and get a little bit of that champagne out, you know, that was still stuck on that corkscrew. And then the lights went down, and then the party resumed. And us being kids, you know, we were running around the whole place, and we started drinking what was left over in the champagne flutes. And I remember my first drunk because I remember being in the middle of the dance floor and everybody dancing around, and just what those DJ lights were doing to me. You know, I was in a different dimension at that point, and what that music, I could feel the music. And I just remember what that felt like, so young. I didn't drink after that. I don't remember drinking after that, but I got into high school and I started drinking regularly at the age of 15. I was on the basketball team, and I wasn't the best basketball player, but I made the team, and I guess I was just really good at defense and helping the starters run their plays. But we started getting together on Friday nights, and we'd pitch in to buy an 18-pack, and we called it Miller Time. At that time, that was a very popular commercial, Miller Time. So we would call it, hey, it's Miller Time. And what I found out there is that's where I really kind of started drinking, because while my other friends would drink 1 or 2 beers and start throwing up, I was already on beer like 7 or 8. And I wasn't throwing up, and I was like, man, these losers, right? I'm gonna finish this 18-pack. And so that's when I kind of started feeling the changes of alcohol. I got funny. You know, even though I felt like not the best basketball player around my friends, I was the best drinker. And so I wanted to drink all the time because that was the only time that I was really better at anything. And that became my personality in high school. It was really about just drinking, and I couldn't wait for the weekend to get drunk again. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. This was the time when you could go over to Juarez and $10 drink and drown. Oh man, you could go over with $20. You know, $10 drink and drown. And I would always think, these people are gonna lose money tonight with my $10. They're gonna lose money because of how much I wanted to drink. You know, the alcohol did what it was supposed to do at that age. You know, I felt funny, I could dance, I could talk to girls, I was funny, I could talk to the bartenders in Mexico at, 16, 17 years old, and you're ordering rounds for people and, make you feel like an adult. So I just continued drinking and made a drinking personality of that. Luckily, I really enjoyed school, and I was career-oriented, and I was able to get into college, the college that I wanted to go to. That was amazing. So of course I celebrated, and I got super drunk, and I think I smoked a joint too. I went to college, and I had some scholarships. I mean, it was great. I went to Florida State University, the #1 party school in the nation at the time. And guess what? My goal was to make it to Florida State. I made it, but then I got there, and I didn't know what to do because I had extra freedom, and I was at the #1 party school, And that's exactly what I did. I partied, and I partied, and I partied, and then I got put on academic probation. And then I had to, face the reality that I screwed it up, and I didn't know what to do. And because I was also, I realize now that I had been codependent of my friends, my drinking friends here, I was also very homesick. So it took about 2 years, and before it all fell apart, and I had to make the decision to withdraw and come back home, and I did. And somehow I got a job at Best Buy, and at Best Buy, there was this young lady that worked in the CD department, and one of her friends was telling me that she liked me. And I was like, I just got back from, I'm going through a lot of changes, right? I just got back, I just withdrew from college, and hey, I'm back home, and I kind of want to party and, be single for a little while. As fate would have it, we would go on our first date to a bar, and, 9 pitchers later of beer, she thought I was even greater than what she thought I was at work, right? Because now I'm just forcing beers and shots down her throat, and we ended up having a really good time. That of what we can remember. And that young lady is my wife today. So we got together super young. And this year we celebrated 23 years since we've met. Yeah. And let me tell you, it hasn't been the prettiest 20 years. Because as I mentioned, our first date was at a bar. 9 pitchers later, we kept replicating those dates, and we would every time we'd go out, we would drink. And I didn't know at the time that I had this problem. I just thought I was just having a good time, Hey, I'm 21, I'm 22, and that's what I would always tell her. I'm 21, I'm 22, I'm 23, I'm 24, I'm 25. And just every year I would just say it over and over and over and over. And guess what? She would just keep putting up with it and putting up with it and putting up with it. And so eventually, in around 2018, 2017 timeframe, we had our first child already a couple years old. We just kind of couldn't do it anymore. And we were looking at potentially getting a divorce. And we were just, we just felt like we were done. But something said, hey, let's just try counseling. And I set up some counseling, and we were nervous about that, and we went. And we sat down with the counselor. And so we're nervous, first time. We're doing anything like this, anything kind of adult. And the counselor starts asking these questions. How much do you drink? How often do you drink? What is the frequency? How many? All these questions, and we're answering. And I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, she's kind of minimizing, so I'm gonna minimize my answers too. And so we were just minimizing, and we're like, hey, but she wants to leave me and I want to leave her. What does this have to do with anything? And so she just tells us, we didn't even get through the full hour. Within 15, 20 minutes, she said, before we start with any of your marriage problems, ma'am, here's a AA guidebook. I want you to go to an AA meeting. Sir, here's a copy of that. I want you to go to an AA meeting. And so when you come back next week, you both have gone to an AA meeting, and then we'll start talking about your problems with your marriage. We walk out of there, we get in the car, and she's bawling. And I'm pissed because I wanted solutions, and they didn't give me a solution. And she's saying, but we're not alcoholics. And I'm like, I know. You just hate me. And don't worry, I'm gonna call tomorrow, and I'm gonna get mad at the insurance, and I'm gonna tell them that we need another counselor. And that's what I did. I called the next day, and I bitched and screamed, and they gave me another counselor. But something in the back of my head still stayed that week. And I kept looking at that schedule. And then I said, you know what? It's after work. Here's one at 6 o'clock. I may just stop by. And I stopped by, and I parked kind of far. And this was in a shopping center. And I got there early. And I'm scoping out the door. Who's going in there? Who's going out? They don't look like me. That person doesn't look like me. And I finally got the courage, and I got out of my car, and I started walking to the door, and I didn't walk in. I just couldn't. I couldn't understand that I wasn't an alcoholic. It's her. She's the problem. She needs help, but I'm going to go to the counseling so that the counselor could tell her that she needs help. And I got back in my car and I left. And we ended up finding another counselor, and they didn't ask us the questions, and we started talking about our marriage. And it got better for like 2 weeks, and then we got back into hating each other. And then we got pregnant again, and this time it's with twins. Ooh, twins. And we're happy because we've been trying to have another baby, and now we're gonna have twins. Well, guess what I do? The day that she takes me to lunch to tell me we're having twins, after work I get off and I go to the bar, of course, and I order 2 Bud Lights, one for each twin, and a Budweiser for myself, and of course a couple shots, because why not? And that's how I celebrated, because that's how I celebrated anything. And we have the twins, and we both have mental breakdowns because we can't sleep, and we're drinking and drinking and drinking, and our marriages, we're just driving each other more and more apart. My dad dies in 2019. I get to see his alcoholic death. The syringes pulling water out of his stomach, the bleeding from his mouth and from his backside. I mean, just a horrible, horrible death. And every time I go see him at the hospital, and it smells like ammonia in there. I don't know if you've ever been around someone dying, but they can't process, right? And they smell like ammonia. And I could see myself in that bed. I could see me looking at me, but I knew something was different with me, but I still couldn't pinpoint it. And I still kept drinking. And in 2021, I mean, so many rock bottoms, but something happened July 31st of 2021. We found ourselves out of town, and I think I had drank for maybe 24 hours, close to 24 hours. And I was in a blackout, and I felt numb at the time. Overall, I just felt numb, depressed, anxious. I wasn't happy with my marriage. I wasn't happy with my work. I wasn't happy with my kids. I wasn't happy with my finances. I wasn't happy. I just felt numb. I mean, the thoughts of, I have a good life insurance. If I just did something to myself, maybe the financials will just take care of them, Those thoughts were come in my head. The obsession had taken over. I was hiding my drinking from them. The happy hours that I used to enjoy and meeting my friends on Fridays, I stopped going to those. I preferred to go to a bar by myself because I didn't want them to count how much I was drinking at that time. So I started isolating. I was pre-gaming to pre-game. So while she's getting ready and blow drying her hair and I'm making her make drinks because we're pre-gaming, I'm also drinking behind there and she's not seeing that. I'm hiding bottles now around the house. I'm using Fireball like scope, so you don't smell the beer in my breath. And going back to July 31st, 2021, which was the final rock bottom, I hope. We found ourselves out of town, and I had drank about 24 hours in and out of consciousness. Apparently that night, and I just want to make this comment, we were at a country bar, and we had drank so much that we were high-fiving each other like, man, we two-stepped the hell out of these songs. I would like to look at that security camera footage, because I guarantee you we probably did not dance that good. But in our minds, we were like, we're doing really, really good. It's about 3, 4 in the morning, and the cops are about to be called. She's crying. My friends are crying. And I just don't know what's happening. In and out of consciousness. I know I screwed up. I know I did something. And I can't figure it out. And I walk outside of the hotel, and I sit on the curbside. And I remember, it wasn't 3, 4, because now the sun is coming up. And I sat on that curb and, feeling dizzy. And I felt like shit. I felt like shit because I didn't know what I said or did. And the words came out of my mouth. And these were the words that came out of my mouth. I said, God help me. I can't do this anymore. I can't feel like this anymore. God help me. And I don't know why those words came, but they came. And I believe that at that moment was the moment that my life changed forever. We got in a car. We were supposed to be there that weekend. We got in our car, and luckily my friend is a year sober, and he drove us back home, and it was a very quiet 4 hours back home. And we looked at each other when we got home, and she said, well, what are we gonna do? And I told her, I can't do this anymore. And she's like, do you wanna get divorced again? And I said, no, I can't drink anymore. I'm gonna try to quit. And she said, if you do it, I'll do it. And that week, I Google searched AA in El Paso, and I found Early Birds online. And I made it to my first meeting online on Zoom. And I remember the voices, Bridget and Jerry, talking on there. And then when they would call my name, okay, Sergio, we see a Sergio here. Would you like to say something? I would hang up. I would hang up. But guess what? The next morning, I'd be back on in the morning, and I would listen. And again, Sergio, are you sure you? And then nope, I'd hang up again. And it took me a little while. It took me a couple weeks, and I clearly remember the day because my wife had just walked out to take the kids to school, and my office window faces the front, and they had literally just walked out, and someone called my name. And I said, today's the day. And I said, my name is Sergio, and I'm an alcoholic. And it came out, and it finally came out, and it made sense, because the shares that I got to hear before I signed out, I could relate. I could relate to what you were saying. And I've been coming back ever since. One of the things that they told me in early sobriety, keep coming back. You're a newcomer. You're the most important person in this meeting. Well, of course, my ego was like, okay, these people, this is going to be awesome here. So I kept coming back, and you told me, get a sponsor, get into service work. Well, when I did that AA, that Google search, and I found the AAElPaso.org website, the first thought I thought was, this is an ugly website. I could do a lot better for this. And so I did. Sorry, Kim. I know you didn't hear that one, but so I started asking around, hey, how can I get, I have these skills in technology, what can I do? And they connected me, and I met Kim a couple weeks into, and he put me to work. They put me to work and said, hey, yeah, you want to do the website? Go for it. Hey, by the way, we have all this other work. And so I was like, heck yeah, this is helping me. And as long as I'm not going to that bar, I'm going to do this. This is what I need. And my friends were texting me and calling me and saying, hey, dude, where the hell are you? You missed happy hour, man. This guy, puked on himself, whatever. And I was like, you know what? I have to block these people for a while. And so it was hard because I really thought these were my bros. I really thought they were my family. They were just my drinking buddies. And I blocked them, and I got into work. And then you told me, get a sponsor. And I got a temporary sponsor, and then I went to my first men's meeting, and I met my sponsor, and we started getting into our step work. And it's been a game changer. It's been a game changer to be in AA. I don't know if there are any newcomers here. My life is not perfect. There's a lot to fix. The alcoholic is sick, but we also make the people around us sick. My kids were sick. My wife was sick. My job was sick. My boss was sick. All these people were sick because of my obsession with alcohol, and I had to change that. I got into work, and I remember within the first 6 months, and you guys told me too in the first year, don't do anything drastic. Don't go buy yourself the Corvette, dude, or don't sell the house. Just keep coming back and work your steps. And I listened to that. And even my sponsor said, even for the first 6 months, don't do anything drastic. And I luckily I landed a new job. And while at 6 months into my new job, I found out that they would pay for my registration into 5Ks, like charity runs around here in El Paso. And that always intrigued me to be a runner and to do things like that, but I never did. And so I said, you know what, it's February, and there's one in March. So I'm gonna sign up for one, and I'm gonna give myself 30 days to train, and I'm gonna sign up for the one in March. And I did that. And I trained, and I couldn't run a mile without wanting to die. And I was like, man, I don't know about this sport, but hey, I made a commitment. And you also told me, when you commit to something, you stick with it. You stick with it. No more excuses. No more excuses. No more BS. And so I stuck to it, and I ran my first 5K. Well, I've been doing that ever since. And last October, because of that running, I was accepted to run at the Chicago Marathon last year. Yeah. And when we say that our higher power has a greater plan for you than you can imagine, for me, I was in. I got into the Chicago Marathon. Oh my God, right? But here comes God, and I get an email from a charity that says, hey, you got accepted, awesome. Why not make it a better experience and run for charity? And I joined the team, and that was the Ronald McDonald House charity. And there were about 1,200 runners from across the U.S. And together we raised $2.5 million for that charity. So I want to show you, I'm really proud of this. This is my jersey that I wore in Chicago last year. And it says, I'm running for the Ronald McDonald House charity. Really proud of that. And so I got to take my family to Chicago, and my daughter got to run at the Chicago 5K with 10,000 runners in her group, okay? And we're out there in Chicago, and my kids are we're all like, wow, what an experience. And the morning, it's a Sunday, October 13th, which was 1 week after my 43rd birthday. So that's how I was gonna celebrate my birthday. And in the morning, there was this buzz all weekend about the marathon. So many runners from all around the world. But I remember the news saying that there were gonna be about 1 million people along the route when you run that marathon. 1 million people. And boy, was it an experience. I guarantee you, there was about 1 million people there. And at the final mile, my legs want to cramp up. And I've been training for a year, and I'm just thinking, I need to just get to the finish line. And right at the end, about 800 meters, that's about a track, twice around the track. There's a little zigzag that happens before you get to see the finish line. So we're going straight on this main thoroughfare. It's a quick right and a quick left. And during that quick right, it's just an overpass. I mean, it's nothing crazy, but they call it Heartbreak Hill because it's the last little hill before you hit the finish line. And as I'm making it over the Heartbreak Hill, there's these grandstands of people. And I spot with my eye my family cheering for me, going crazy. And there's nothing that can describe that moment, because from almost losing each other in divorce and in alcohol and in insanity and in insults and disrespect, there they were waiting for me in that sun for me to cross over Heartbreak Hill and see me finish the finish line. And I finished that, and I didn't stop. And it took me 4 hours and 51 minutes and 33 seconds to finish the Chicago Marathon. And this is my medal. And this medal, to me, doesn't mean that race. I hang this in my office, and every time I look at it, I think of them. That's what this means to me. That from almost losing it all, that I could overcome these things, and that God would take me to places that I couldn't even dream of. And today I continue to run, and we started a run group. 5. And I see my friend over there that actually made these for us. And I invite you all to go to our website and join us. We host a once-a-month event, whether you want to walk or run, bring your pet. It's just something healthy for us to do, because before on Saturdays, I was nursing a hangover. And now I'm nursing runners and walkers. And our motto is, finish what you started. And I couldn't do any of this. This wasn't in my game plan. This wasn't in my plans. And God gave it to me, and I'm running with it. And so I encourage the newcomer, keep coming back. There's nothing special about me, I guarantee you. Keep coming back. Work your steps. Get into service work. It works if you work it. I want to thank you all for your attention. And again, I appreciate your all's time.